that too. Like,
You did,
oh
yeah.
shit, are you that guy? Yeah, and I remember that, So
Yeah.
and we're live right now, and welcome to Talking Filthy, and we're gonna kick it off here in a second with Kurt and get the show rolling a little bit here. All right, welcome to the show, Kurt. What's up, man?
Not much, man. I'm happy to be here. I was super stoked when I found out that you were doing a podcast. It's something that I've been I've been toiling with for quite a while. Just didn't know how to get started, so I'm glad I know someone that knows.
It's going to be good, man. So I'd like to do quite a few shows with you because I think we've got a lot to talk about, especially since we've kind of narrowed down exactly what we're doing, and the whole premise of this is for us to help other cops. That's really it. I'm not here to help. That's all great, community members and the agencies and all this and that, but oftentimes, in my opinion, the cop gets left to the wayside. Is everyone else okay first, and then what happens to the officers? And so I'm kind of, trying to set it up so that we can do some good stuff. Kurt is on his way to retirement here very soon this year, and you've had a long career. We don't necessarily need to name the agency, but a local Tucson police agency. You've got 20 plus years, and you've had a variety of assignments, and some pretty crazy stuff happened to you during your career. Do you want to give a little background as to your career?
Yeah, sure. So I started in September 2nd, 2001 was when I started the academy. And, obviously that was 9 days before September 11th. And started from there, worked patrol up on the north side of town. And it was a great career. So coming up September 2nd, I'll have 20 years. Variety of different assignments. Started out in patrol, worked kind of a street detective, plainclothes type unit for a few years, and school resource officer. I worked robbery assault unit, our night detective squad, and about 7 years in the homicide unit. And yep, I'm coming up for retirement here within the next few months, hopefully, if everything goes well.
Sweet. So I think for our listeners to fully understand where you're at, and you and I have had we met at the coffee shop. You came in, got coffee, and I think we kind of knew right away we both were on the same playing field as just. Yeah. We're burned out, we're tired, we've seen a lot, done a lot, and we need some time away. So that kind of tells our listeners as to how we connected. And then through that, I discovered you're that guy. You wanted to talk about the incident that, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Yeah. Usually when that is referenced, that's usually like, oh, you're the clown that effed this up or whatever, but not in your case. Yours is a little bit different, right? And so
I am that guy.
Up close and personal incident, right?
Yeah. So as cops, I don't know when it starts for everybody. I don't even remember when it started for me, and I wish that's something that we could pinpoint to help, other cops, future cops, current cops, especially the young ones that are in the academy. But that dream of being in a shooting and your gun falling out the end of the barrel, having a misfire, being beaten, having to use your firearm and having it not work. Those are dreams that we all have. And unfortunately for me, back on August 11th of 2006, it became my reality, and it became my living hell And before I get to the story, one of the things that we're always taught, I was in the Army for 15 years, 4 years active duty infantry, served in Desert Storm, 11 years in the Guard and Reserve, military police officer. We're always taught how to fix physical malfunctions with our firearms. Slap, tap, rack, squeeze. But we're not taught how to deal with the malfunctions of our brain. And that's the thing that has had the most effect on me is what the fuck. I'm sorry, it's Filthy Pirate
You're
podcast,
good,
but
man.
I'm not a
Everybody
sailor, but I
was
curse like a
pirate.
sailor. Fixing that malfunction in your brain after any type of situation, traumatic event, was the thing that was lacking for me. So, yeah, let's go back to August 11th of 2006. I was working in the Street Detective Unit. It's kind of like your Bravo unit.
Okay.
Directed Patrol is what it's called. And there was a guy running around town who I'm sure many of your listeners and fellow brothers and sisters are familiar with. His name is Cheyenne Murphy. And Cheyenne had a felony warrant out for his arrest. His probation officers had attempted to effect an arrest down out of Ruth Roth and Kane area, and at a gas station. I was a Ruth Roth and La Troya down in the O5, and he had actually assaulted the two POs and stole their vehicle. I made it a point to, try and track Cheyenne down. Ended up finding his vehicle in the city off of Prince and Stone area at a trailer park. Couple of weeks, month goes by. We know who his girlfriend is. And one of the things that I used to do on Directed Patrol is cruise the local vagrant type hotels, the cheap, no-tell motel type deals. GTAs all the time, felony warrants all the time, drugs all the time. And I was the only one working that evening on my squad. The other guys, one took off early, another one had a vacation day or whatever. My supervisor and I were the only ones. It was around 10:30 at night, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go check the Flamingo Hotel on North Oracle Road."
Yeah. Strangely enough, I just delivered coffee over there the other day, which I just thought was bizarre, but
Really?
they ordered it. Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
So back in those days, I don't know how it is now, but we had really good working relationship. Our unit had a really good working relationship with all the different hotels. I mean, we could literally go in there and they would show us who was occupying the rooms, that night. And from that, we would get the names, we would get the vehicles, and, oftentimes it would lead to pretty solid busts. Well, this night I saw the name of one of Cheyenne's girlfriends who was staying at the hotel on a bottom floor, and she only lived like 3 miles away down in the O5, so I found it odd that, she was staying at the hotel. I'd had contact with her a number of times the previous month or so. She had a warrant for her arrest. We kept letting her slide in the hopes that, she would lead us to Cheyenne. I got a hold of my boss and I told her that, "Hey, Bobby Joe's up here. I'm going to collect on her warrant, if you want to come up here." There's a possibility that Cheyenne might be there, but I don't know. I don't have any intel on that. All I know is that she's there in this specific room. So we got a hold of one of our K9 officers because it was just me and her. So we got the K9 officer up there. We had him posted at the back of the room. Myself and my sergeant went to the hotel door and knocked on the door. She answers. She's in a bathrobe. I ask her, hey, what's going on? What are you doing here? I finally tell her that, she has the warrant for arrest and she's got to go to jail tonight. She's like, all right, give me a chance to get dressed. Back at that time, our agency was using Nextel cell phones. So I was talking with the canine deputy at the back, letting him know, hey, she's going inside to change. She might be coming out the front. No sooner did she shut the door that I started hearing the windows opening in the back. I knew the only windows to the room were in the back. And I heard dog barking, chomp, 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 screaming, and myself and my sergeant beat feet around the back of the hotel. At the Flamingo, since you're familiar with it, it's got the back parking lot, but just south of the parking lot where it stops is a row of townhouses. And the roofs of those townhouses are only about 6 feet, maybe 8 feet above the parking lot. But at the back of those townhouses, they have brick walls that enclose the patios for each individual residence. So I get back behind the hotel, expecting to see Cheyenne laying on the ground, being torn up by the canine. But what I saw was him climbing on the roof of one of these fucking houses with our canine guy literally holding on to him, and Cheyenne is pulling the canine guy up on top of the roof. Cheyenne was a big dude. He was about 6'2", over 200 pounds. Our canine guy is like 6'3", 6'4", all of 250 at that time, maybe a little bit more. And I was like, holy shit. I got the nickname Shit Magnet. When people would hear me call a traffic stop, everyone would come because they know the shit's going to hit the fan, whether it's a fight or a car chase or whatever. I had been in a few tussles with some tweakers, and I'm not a big guy, but some of the toughest, people I've dealt with were skinny little tweakers. So Cheyenne's pulling the canine guy up on the roof. I don't hesitate. I jump up on the roof. I know it's Cheyenne. We had just gotten our tasers around that time, the old X26s.
Cheyenne's a tweaker too, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, he was a tweaker. Big
time tweaker.
Yep. He had experience in mixed martial arts, which I didn't have any. I mean, I was a wrestler in high school, and I spent all 4 years on the JV squad, but that experience in and of itself made me a hell of a scrapper, and taught me some intestinal fortitude that I was able to carry throughout my military and cop career. I didn't have any fear. So we get up on the roof. I see it's Cheyenne. He's still wrestling with the canine guy. I break out my taser and I shoot him. And he's on the ground. He does the whole, board, stiff as a board.
Yeah, locked up.
Yep. And the canine guy sees that happening, but he's, looking for his dog. He's like, where the fuck's my dog? And, as those things are killing machines, man.
Yeah.
They like to eat people. And once they get that taste, it's the dogs become, sometimes uncontrollable. So he was worried about his dog.
Yeah, it's like losing your gun. You know what I mean? It's not something you want laying around.
For real.
Yeah.
And especially, even though it's, later at night, there's people all around those hotels, as you know, doing all kinds of nefarious shit. And I understood. He's like, I got to go get my dog.
Well, it might not be too bad if one of them got bit accidentally because they're a shit-bird, but we're still legally bound to not let them get bit. Yeah.
Exactly. That'd be a painful memo to write. So.
Funny, but painful, yeah.
Yeah. So he goes, I'm like, hey, go get your dog. I got this. And I totally felt, comfortable dealing with him. But again, we had just got our tasers, so, there was still, we were fresh in our training, should we handcuff him with one person or two people and this and that and the other. But, he had to get his dog, and I understood that. So as the And this all happened in a matter of seconds.
Right.
As the tase is
On a rooftop.
on a
Yeah,
rooftop
right.
of some guy's fucking house. Could you imagine, hearing all that ruckus on your roof? You're like, what the fuck is going on? Um, so he goes and gets his dog. Cheyenne does an alligator roll. So as soon as the tase stopped, after that initial 5 seconds, he does an alligator roll. And what does that do? That breaks the leads. And I'm on him, like white on rice, and we start fighting. He's a bigger dude, a bigger adversary, super fucking strong, high out of his gourd, and we started fighting, and it was the first couple of minutes of that fight were pretty fucking crazy. At one point, he had me on my back, and I was fucking terrified. The only reason someone gets into a physical altercation with a cop is to either get away, and that's not going to be a prolonged physical altercation or confrontation, right? They're going to push you. They may punch you, but they're going to try and take off. He was fucking trying to fucking kill me. And
Yeah, his motive was different than 90% of the criminals we encounter. They want freedom.
yeah,
Is their main motivation to get away. They don't want to go to jail. They don't want to be in custody. And then occasionally, and I've had mine. My encounter was with a MA guy twice in my career. Same guy, honestly.
Jesus.
And their motives are death. And
Yeah.
that's, you're not changing that. For whatever reason, whether it's the dope or they're just in fight mode or whatever.
Yeah.
So if they're sticking around to fight you, and I'm sure it sounds like after a few minutes, maybe there was a couple opportunities he could have broke free and jumped off the roof.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean,
But he didn't.
he had me on my back. He was straddling me, punching my face. So I'm down there, and I'm literally screaming for help. My sergeant didn't make it up on the roof. To this day, I'm still bitter about that. And
let me ask you, why do you think? Because I think that's an important point for a couple of different things. But do you think it was physicality or lack thereof that was preventing that, or?
So shortly after that, probably within a week, I had a conversation with her. I told her I didn't fucking trust her anymore. I didn't want to fucking work for her anymore. You left me up there to fucking die. And her reason that she gave me was that she couldn't get up on the roof because the dog was down in the little back porch. The dog ended up being down in that back porch, blocked by the block wall. And she said that she couldn't jump over it because she was afraid the dog was going to bite her. And I call bullshit because I got fucking up there and I didn't get bit. And there's a row of townhouses that go for probably 75 yards, and they're all adjoined, basically. So, yeah, that was her excuse. And
So I imagine later on, as you process all this, that's a sticking point for you. It's like, the cops are kind of programmed from day one. You don't leave a brother or sister in blue ever.
yeah,
And there you are. You're on the receiving end of this, where you're expecting the same thing that you would give. So I'm sure that probably chapped your ass and chewed at your brain for a while.
yeah, for
And
quite
it
a
made
while.
it uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, she's been living rent-free in my headspace for 15 fucking years. And as much as I try to not let that be the case, it's
I think sometimes, to me, if I'm processing that, and I've seen my own case of cowardice, not in that same capacity as you, so I can't speak like that. But I think it almost irritates me more than the suspect.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, because I understand the logic of the suspect, as scary as it is and terrifying as it is, and you know, but I don't understand the logic in, you know, not helping someone for whatever reason. But you know, it happens.
Yeah, it does, unfortunately, and you know, then we're left to deal with, you know, the ramifications of that. Our working relationship after that was nil. I left the unit shortly thereafter, or she may have left before me, I forget. There was a lot of issues when the other guys found out, you know, what had happened. Yeah, it didn't become a good working environment, to say the least.
Yeah, I'd say you probably don't even have to tell anyone. They can figure it out themselves. Like, wait a minute, you know, what do you mean you know what I mean? Like, you were there and you didn't get up there, like what, you know? And so I'm sure that probably created a reputation for her that was not good, and not. My point to all this is it didn't help you heal afterwards from this thing at all. Just added fuel to the whole situation, you know?
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on my back, getting tuned up. And, you know, again, I said I was never the best wrestler, right? One time I think I got pinned in like fucking 3 seconds by a state champion. I was like, what? I was a fucking JV guy, and they're like, hey, you know, our guy didn't make weigh-in or he got sick. You got to go in and wrestle at fucking 119. I was like 112, and I'm like, all right, cool. But, you know, one thing that, you know, I was when I was a grappler was I was fucking wiry, and, you know, I was slippery, and I was able to, you know, buck him off a little bit so that I could get out from underneath him. And when I did that, I was like, he ended up standing up, and I was just getting up on my knees, and, you know, things are processing so fast. And I harkened back to my football days. Now, my football days in high school are limited to freshman year. And I was a 98-pound tackle. All right? So picture this. My dad graduated in 1965, so being a tackle, you had to have big numbers. So I chose the number 65, you know, in honor of my dad. And when I put on that fucking jersey the first time, the 6 was, you know, over here on my left rib cage, and the 5 was over here on my right rib cage. And I had
Unlike me, I had plenty of fucking room. I could have ran 3 numbers. But,
holy shit! Yeah, it was fucking funny. I'm like, really, coach? I'm like 98 pounds, and you're gonna make me be a tackle? All right, I got you. So, you know, he's standing up, and I'm getting up off on my knees, and the first thing that pops into my head is I got to tackle this motherfucker because I can't let him get away because, you know, he's gonna jump off the roof, and then, you know, drama is gonna fucking ensue, right? We're gonna have to call in this guy and that guy in this unit and that unit, our air unit, your air unit, you know, whatever. So I thought it was a good idea to fucking try and tackle this dude. And I got up, I went as hard as I fucking could, and I dove my right shoulder into his left side, placing my head, you know, right on his abdomen. So my right ear was on his abdomen. It was good tackling for him, right? I didn't use my head and tweak my neck or whatever, but I'll be damned if he didn't fucking move an inch. And I was like, shit. Now what do I do?
Right, that didn't work. All right.
So he reaches down and does one of these and gets me in kind of like a reverse chokehold. And as he's doing that during the fight, my taser obviously got knocked out of my fucking hand, and it was up there on the roof. So he reaches down with his right hand, and I'm kind of, you know, looking up as I can, and I see him bringing the taser to me, and I'm like, well, fuck. This just got fucking interesting. He's got me in a fucking chokehold. I can't, I'm starting to not be able to breathe. I'm amped up as it is, full of adrenaline, getting shortness of breath. I see the taser coming up, and I'm like, I can't fucking let him, tase me.
Yeah.
Even though I knew, it's only like 5 seconds. And if he contact tased me, it's only gonna, sting for a second or so, or however long he keeps on her. But I can't be incapacitated, right? There's already one gun in this gunfight, and that's mine. That's in the holster. I don't know if he has a gun. He hasn't pulled one yet, but now he's got my taser, which means to me he's again trying to kill me, incapacitate me, take my gun.
Yeah, I think it leads another layer to the motive here. Like, yeah, the taser may not kill you right away, or per se, but his motive sure as hell is heading that way. And I think anybody in that position that's done the job for a couple days would know, like, okay, shit, he's just not pushing off trying to get away. He's not just hitting me a couple times. He's going to escalate this thing. And
Yeah.
were you thinking like, yeah, this is not going to stop?
Yeah, I was still thinking I was gonna fucking die, and I was just telling myself I'm gonna go out fighting. I'm gonna do everything I fucking can to kill this guy before he fucking kills me. And that's just the mentality that I had. I wasn't gonna, if I was gonna fucking die, he was gonna die too. So he's choking me out. He's got this chokehold on me. My right ear is on his abdomen by his belly button. I see the taser coming up. I reach down. I'm right-handed. I grab I had a Glock 21 is what I carried at that time, 45 caliber, full size. I pull it out of the holster, and I put it up to his side. And I can't see where my gun's pointed, right? When we discharge our firearms in duty or off duty, you're responsible for every fucking round that comes out of it. And even though I was on the roof, it's a very populated area. I didn't, there was screaming and punching and kicking and all kinds of shit going on. I knew people probably started coming out of their house. The last thing that I wanted was to have an errant round go and, God forbid, kill or maim somebody. So I have the gun, and I'm pushing it against his side. I'm not ramming it in there. I don't want him to know what I'm doing. It was counterintuitive to me to just fucking jam it in there. There's a time and a place for something like that, and for me, this wasn't that time. I had to do it surreptitiously. So I'm just kind of touching, feeling around. I did it about 2 or 3 times. And I said to myself, I'm like, I may fucking die here. And this is going to be really fucking loud. And
it's crazy the shit you think about at that moment, right?
Dude,
and it's vivid.
All of
it's
this
vivid.
happened within like 2 minutes, And yeah, it's so fucking vivid. I'm like, I could fucking die, and this is going to be really fucking loud. I was just like, fuck.
I can't fucking breathe, but this thing's going to be loud as fuck in my ear. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The weird shit that goes through your head, and I was like, all right. I punch, I touch to make sure that that's where the gun's going, in his side. And I squeeze the trigger. And it goes click.
Ugh. The loudest fucking noise in the world.
Bar none, it was the loudest fucking thing I ever heard.
Yeah.
And it registered immediately. I was like, what the fuck? All of this shit is coming like right now. I can't believe that this fucking happened. These are the fucking dreams that I've been having. That every cop fucking has. That when you need your gun to work or a tool to work, your life or someone else's life depends on it and it doesn't fucking work. Holy shit, dude. Bro, it was fucking scariest fucking moment. at about the time that the misfire happened, I felt all of Cheyenne's weight come off me. I felt his grip loosen. And, I was thinking to myself, does he know what I just did? Did I shoot? The click that I heard, was it actually a bang? Did it work? But I didn't see any blood. I didn't hear any screaming. So as his grip loosened up, I was able to push out. I came back up. I cleared my malfunction, chambered another round, came back up on target to shoot again. And that's when I saw the K9 guy had got back up on the roof. And he was only gone for a matter of seconds, like 30 seconds maybe. He heard my cries for help when I was on my back, getting tuned up. But I didn't know he had got back up there until I pulled out and came back up. I saw that he had put Cheyenne in his own rear naked chokehold. And I was like, fuck yeah. This is good shit. All right, I'm back in the game.
Yeah.
I'm all right. So he takes him back. He's laying down, on him, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, we got to get him fucking handcuffed right fucking now. We're about 3 minutes into this tussle up on a fucking roof. He's like, all right, let's do it. So what he did is he let go of the chokehold, which, as you know, if you do a rear naked choke appropriately, it cuts off, the circulation, the oxygen, but when you release it, that blood starts flowing, oxygenated blood starts flowing again to the brain, and it's like giving some heroin addict Narcan. They come to like nothing happened. And holy shit, the fucking fight was on again. But now I've got my partner there, who's as big, if not bigger, than Cheyenne. And we started going to work on the roof, trying to get him into custody again. And we fought for another about 4 minutes. I think the total physical altercation from the time that it started to the end was about 7.5 or 8 minutes.
Holy shit, dude. That's an eternity. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I was fucking dead. And I mean, goddamn, he was a tough motherfucker. I mean, he was taking Matterhorn, size 12 Matterhorn boots to the fucking face. I mean, it sounded like his head was being punted. I was punching him as hard as I could in the balls. I was gouging his fucking eyes. I tried to do a fucking Patrick Swayze Roadhouse and rip the fucker's, esophagus out. I mean, I was literally doing everything I could.
Right.
We were doing everything that we could to get this guy to just fucking stop, man. He knew we were the cops. We had identified ourselves. He knew we were there. He took off running. It wasn't like some fucking cartel hit squad or something. So yeah, after about 7 or 8 minutes, we were finally able to get him into handcuffs. Not one fucking time during that altercation did he say a fucking word. He didn't scream. He didn't fucking cry. He didn't say fuck you. He didn't say let me fucking go. Nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had the same experience with that guy I was telling you about, and we ended up on the side of a Circle K at 29th and 6th. This was the second time I had an encounter with him. I didn't know it at the time. And we ended up fighting with him, and the whole time it was me and 3 or 4 other good-sized cops fighting this guy. And he was a decent-sized guy. And I mean, the whole deal, like he had a knife or something, and one cop had the hand on that had the knife, and they're pinning it, and taking shots to the faces and boots to the head, and the guy never said a word. It's just bizarre shit, you know?
Yeah. It was like he was a fucking zombie, but,
Right.
you know, I mean, come to find out, fucking shocker, he was, you know, hopped up on fucking meth.
Sure.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, it was the weirdest fucking thing, dude. He was super fucking strong. He was like fucking Superman, man. And he was just fucking evil. Him not saying anything at all, making a fucking sound, was just evil to me. I was like, Jesus Christ, what am I? I'm fucking dealing with the goddamn devil here. You know, it's like
Yeah.
he's enjoying this. He's just eating it up. So we ended up getting him in handcuffs, and I looked at the canine guy because I heard him call out on the radio, code 998, which is our officer involved shooting. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, I know I fucking shot at this guy, but I also heard a click. I didn't hear my gun go off. And that also, you know, fucked with me because I heard him say code 998, officer involved shooting, but my gun didn't go off. So I was like, well, maybe it fucking did go off. You know, I don't know. So we're checking him over for holes, and I'm like, hey, did you hear my gunshot? Is that why you called 998? He's like, no, I just got on the radio and, you know, just screamed it out because I saw that you had your gun out. And so, you know, normally it would be a 999, a 999, you know, officer needs assistance or, you know, urgently. So, you know, that also messed with me. And when I asked him that, that's when it, you know, really set in that, yeah, I had a fucking misfire. So shortly thereafter, you know, all the cavalry start showing up. And the best sergeant I ever worked for, guy by the name of Bill Murphy, he gets there, and he gets up on the roof, and I'm tearing off my shit because I can't fucking breathe, you know, taking my vest off, taking my gear out. I'm just like, I don't know what to fucking do. And he looks at me, he's like, are you all right? And I'm like, I'm not fucking all right. I said, I tried to, and he didn't know what was going on yet. All he knew was we were in a fight and, you know, possibly a shooting. I'm like, I fucking tried to shoot this guy and I had a fucking misfire. And I want to find my round because I'm looking on the roof for, you know, the casing. He's like, don't worry about it, man. He goes, we'll fucking find it. I'm like, no, Bill. I said, I got to fucking find this thing because I had a fucking misfire. And that's fucking bullshit. And I was fucking pissed. You know, I was fucking livid. And I was scared. You know what I mean? Like, how the fuck can this fucking happen to me? Well, why me? You know, that's what I tell my therapist. I'm like, I ask her, I'm like, why fucking me? You know, her answer is, well, it was you because you were able to deal with it. What if it was someone else and they weren't able to? I'm like, yeah, that's a good therapy answer.
You went to med school for that?
Yeah.
Like, really? Yeah. I think the same shit when I talk to them, and I'm like, really? Like, okay, all right.
Yeah. So
just tell me shit happens, and I'm, you know, and I can deal with that.
Exactly. But you
so
know,
all you listeners out there, and you ask yourself why me, and we all do it. Just remember, shit fucking happens, man.
happens.
There's no God sent you to save the world because you could handle it, and it just we all have that wrong place, wrong time, and fucking shit happens, man.
Yeah. You know, and I, like you know, we're shit magnets, right? There's a couple of types of cops, right? You have call takers, guys and girls who go out and, you know, do the Lord's work, humping 911 calls day after day, night after night. You have guys that just want to fucking arrest bad guys, right? Those are call makers. They go out and fucking run 100 plates a day, you know, get a GTA, get in a pursuit, you know, get guns and drugs, get in fights, foot chases, car chases. And then you have, you know, a happy medium, which I was. I humped a lot of fucking calls in my time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I wasn't humping calls, I was out being a proactive cop, trying to get in some shit. And when you're prone to, you know, getting into shit like that, not every cop gets into shit all the time. I got into shit all the fucking time. And I was okay with that because I loved doing the job and it was exciting. So, yeah. So I'm looking around the roof for the casing. And I find it. It's the only one up there. So it wasn't that hard to fucking figure out. It was the only 45. And I pick it up and I look at it. And the primer has a strike in it.
So it's either a light strike or just a no fire primer or something, right? Yeah.
My dad used to have a saying when I was growing up. He still uses it every now and then. It was like a Cantera way.
That's an old school saying. My grandpa used to,
Yeah. So I used that one time in the academy, and I got sentenced to not teaching for a few months.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
But I was telling the story, I mean, it's apropos for the story. But yeah, so I look at the round, and it's got a primer strike, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, this fucking guy has an angel on his fucking shoulder, And I tell my therapist this all the time. I'm like, if I would have killed him, I don't think that this incident would have affected me as much as it has the past 15 years.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair, yeah.
Because I was there, he did something, I did something, and that thing that I did worked as expected. So I think up here, and I don't know, I've been in 2 shootings and I've never killed anybody. My other guy I shot in the shoulder, which, the public wants us to do these days, so good for me.
Right.
Yeah. But I just think that if things would have went the way that I believed them to or should have gone, or the way that, we are taught in training, you shoot bad guy dies. You see in the movies, you shoot bad guy dies. I think I would have been okay up here. But because that didn't happen, again, I had a malfunction up here that I didn't know how to fucking fix. So the investigation, happens. A guy from Glock came out here to take a look at my gun. So I have pretty small fingers, and on Glock firearms, the slide lock that you use to take down take the slide off to disassemble it. I put an extended slide lock on. That was aftermarket. It was from some Glock thing that I found at the gun store. But it was nice because I didn't have to fiddle around with my firearm to take it off. Because there were a lot of questions and rumors going around that I fucking hammered this in his side. It caused the gun to go out of battery. That caused the light primer strike, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, man, I swear to God, I fucking didn't jam it into his side because I didn't want him to know what I was doing. I just wanted to touch it to make sure. So once they got, and they sent the gun up to Lucian Haig as well up in Phoenix. He's a pretty renowned firearms expert, and sent the gun in the round up there. So what had basically happened is that extended slide lock that I put on there, or slide release, had worn down shooting, the gun, target practice, or at the range or whatever. And sometimes it prevented the gun from going into battery. And we were able to actually replicate it out at the range,
oh, wow.
A week or so after the shooting, replicated a few times. So therein, we all don't want to have rules and regulations with our names on them, right? Well, I've got a few
Right.
at my agency. One of them is no aftermarket parts on your firearm without being approved by an armorer,
Yeah.
Another one is that we all get IFAKs that we can keep at our house in case, you need to utilize them. And I was actually in 3 shootings, so that was my second shooting that rule came into effect. That was a self-inflicted one. But anyways, yeah. So that all being, done, we went through the shooting review board, and there were some good things that came out of it, some training things, some communication things. Most of the communication that we used to do at that time was on the Nextel phones because our radio systems were not, they were subpar. They were rushed in during the year 2000 because they were afraid all that stuff was going to go down. So no more using Nextel phones. A couple of years later, we got new radio systems, but yeah, that was the catalyst, that started me down a downward fucking spiral.
Yeah. So I'm glad you survived the event. I mean, that's what I think ultimately all of us, when we're out there doing it day in and day out, that's what we want to happen, is we want to make it home. I'm okay with a few bumps and bruises, hopefully no extra holes, and that kind of thing when we come home. But your mind, and something I want to cover in the next episode with this is just that for me, I had an incident very similar, where I had a malfunction in the head that it just wasn't what I expected when I was looking at it, and it caused this long delay, this long pause. I jeopardized other officers for what it should have been, and it sent me into like, maybe you can relate, where you beat yourself up trying to figure out why you did what you did, and then how do you fix it so that it never happens again.
Yeah.
And man, there was just no stopping me for a good 10 years after that. And I don't know, did you feel the same?
Oh yeah, absolutely. What had happened to me is I became more aggressive in my tactics. I never violated anybody's rights.
Sure.
I didn't fucking go out looking for a fight, but I was quick to act. And when I acted, you were getting the full force of that, at that time, 135-pound Tasmanian devil. And that's when I started noticing, the differences in my behavior, at work and at home. At work, I became an aggressive shit magnet. I went out 100 miles an hour every day out of the house. I was in the fucking red all the time. I was constantly hyper vigilant, whether I was on duty or off duty. And when push came to shove, there was going to be a physical confrontation. And I was not, because I felt so alone up there on that rooftop during that whole incident that I didn't want to feel that again. And the only way to not feel that way, even if I was alone, was to resolve the situation immediately. With as much justifiable force as was needed, whether it was officer presence, hands, weapons, whatever. Because I didn't want to feel alone, and I didn't want to feel scared anymore. All the time, not even realizing that I was fucking scared. I was fucking terrified from that day on of any incident like that happening to me again. And it did.
Yeah, it shakes your confidence a little bit. It shakes your. I know after my first incident where it played out and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. You question yourself. You question, are you well equipped for this job mentally? And at the same time, I was actually in a position where I was disappointed in myself for quite a while, and embarrassed, and and it wasn't that bad, but it was amplified in my own mind, and the worst thing I could do with that whole thing was just keep that to myself and just move on, and because it just like I said, I compounded it on my search to find a better way to do it. It just multiplied it, and pretty soon, 10 years later, it was to the point where you'd let this thing grow to a complete animal now, and you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I think that story is absolutely amazing on so many counts, and not that you had to experience something tragic like that, but just how it played out. That while maybe we questioned one cop, there was another cop there that was grinding it out with you. You know what I mean? So looking at blessings and that whole thing, there are brothers and sisters that you did count on and could count on, and they were there for you. And then I will also kind of say is, after something like that, I had to debrief. As a training supervisor, I had to debrief a cop that had a very up close and personal fight like that ended in a lethal force. And I was always concerned about him because military guy did I'm good, man. I'm good. And I'm like, it's too fucking close for any of us to be good right now at the moment. Like, you need to take a few minutes. And when I say minutes, I'm like, you need to take some time and kind of work through that. And he and I talked a little bit, and I said, hey, it's okay. You're not hurting anyone's, thoughts of you or anything like that. That was an up close and brutal fight that, resulted in the suspect's death. But at the same time, I think those, are really, really tough. And I wish that in law enforcement, because he got grouped into the same lethal force category as any other lethal force, and I don't think they're the same, in my opinion. I think each case has to be reviewed on its own individual basis and treated differently. The things the sniper does through a scope and watch what happens, and the visual stuff that you see happens, is different than a pistol shooting 7 yards away and so forth. I think they're all different, and I would like to see us in law enforcement treat each case by case as if there's some unique styles to them that have to be dealt with. And I don't know how your incident was with that. I can just tell you that in mine in 2009 and 2012, our procedures were just, some blanket shit that was written in a manual that's probably by someone who had never used lethal force at one time in their career, but they wanted to be a lieutenant, so they wrote this policy. I mean, it just me. I'm kind of being rude, but it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, who came up with 72 hours of admin leave and and all these things? And I'm like, some people getting right back to work, maybe not on the streets, but some type of work is a good thing. I know me sitting at home for 72 hours, getting phone call after phone call was, dude, send me to the academy and let me move some ammo around for, a day or whatever. You know what I mean? Let me do something, because this was shit. I think each person has to be treated differently. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, there's 3 different types of incidents involving firearms, in law enforcement. There's a misfire like mine. There's a gunfight where it's probably one cop or multiple cops shooting at a bad guy. And there's gunfights where you've got bad guy shooting at you and you shooting at bad guy. So there's definitely a difference between a gunfight and a gun battle.
Yeah, for sure.
Or a shooting and a gunfight. Or a misfire and a gunfight. And with my misfire, they weren't sure how to handle it. In my mind, I fucking shot that guy. And I did everything that a person who shot would do, except the bullet didn't fucking, come out the end. So I was adamant that it, be treated like a shooting to myself. I didn't verbalize. At that time, I had, 5 years on. Fuck, I was still a rookie. And I got pissed off at a guy telling me that when I had 5 years on, I was still a rookie, and I was all, fuck you. But it's true. Because,
Yeah.
I used to look back at some of my reports when I had 5 years on. I was like, wow, what a rookie. So
Yeah.
it got treated, like a shooting, like it should have. And I'm thankful for that. But like you said, back in those days, you got 3 days that you got to sit at home, and you can't be around the guys and girls at work. You're fielding phone calls left and right to make sure that you're okay. And I appreciated every fucking one of those, phone calls. But man, I didn't sleep for fucking,
Yeah.
3 days.
Yeah. The best thing that happened to me after both of mine and a couple other incidents too was a close friend on the agency was like, "Hey man, what are you doing in the morning? Let's go for a run. I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm not going to, let's just go for a run." And at that time when I was a lot more, physically in shape, it was good. I highly recommend physical fitness of some kind after any kind of event, even if it's maybe you didn't use lethal force, you just saw something really, really
Saw a
fucked
dead
up.
body, or you went to a fucking car accident where you saw, people,
dead
bodies
kid,
mangled, dead
yeah,
kids.
whatever the case is, go find and just hit it hard. 10 minutes doing some CrossFit stuff or 30-minute run, just hit it real hard. I always found myself getting recentered, and still to this day, if I have a pretty stressful, shitty day for whatever reason, which I got to be honest, I don't have too many now, so I'm in a good place.
Good.
So maybe that's why I got fat, because I don't have shitty days that I got to run. So, but I think fitness is super, super important, and we're going to cover a lot more of that. Just and I'm not talking you got to become a all-star athlete. Just burn some fuel, and, center your head, especially if you're getting older, and you've been in the job for 20 years, it'll start wearing on you.
Well, because, I mean, if you look at it, there's a couple of ways cops go out, right? The ones who take care of themselves mentally and physically, might retire and be able to live many years sucking up that pension that they deserve. There are some of us that will fall to booze, drugs, DUIs, domestic violence. You go to fucking jail, you lose your fucking job,
Yep.
and then you fucking kill yourself. I don't want that to be me.
Yeah, for sure. Same here.
I want to be able to live a fucking happy life. But I knew that if I continued down the road that I was going after that 2006 incident, I was going to end up that way. I was going to end up dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I fucking want that.
It's crazy because, obviously yours has been 15 years. The one that kind of shattered me a little bit, it's been 11, 12 years going on, and it really catches up over time. So don't think you're out of the woods just because it's been a year and you're still feeling pretty good about things, because mine didn't hit me until 10 years later.
Yeah.
Really hit me. And it was a few other things that added it that made it surface. So, Hey, Kurt, I think we lost you there.
I'm here. Are you there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the video just lost you, but we still have audio. So, man, I think this has been really good to hear your side of this that situation and take what's valuable from it. I want to dive into another episode or two with you, just talking about now that we know what happened to you, what are you doing now, and what does it look like now, and how you take care of yourself, and how you live a good retirement, and all of that kind of thing where life should be, setting forward. So we'd love to have you back on another episode if you're willing to do that.
Absolutely. I'd be
Hang
honored.
tight for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab, I forgot to. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit real quick, what we're doing with the coffee. Kurt was actually our first recipient of the split second coffee that we have out there. Proceeds from the profits of this coffee go directly back to cops, and our goal is to get them a few minutes with their family over dinner, kids at the movies, whatever we can muster up as far as funding. My goal is to get some cops in gyms, to be sponsored in gyms of different kinds or fitness stuff. So that program is going really well. Kurt was the first one. Less than a week, we had enough money to give him a gift card for he and his wife or whoever he chooses to go have lunch or dinner at Trident. Win-win, also a local restaurant with good food. So if you're out there and you want to give back to cops, and I'm talking about their health and their, and their safety and their well-being afterwards. This is a program we started, and it's going well. So we're actually ready to do the second recipient very soon here. So hopefully we get to chat with them a little bit. But wanted to thank you for your time, Kurt. Any parting words?
No, and like I told you, the day that you gave me that. I fucking cried because I'm a big old puss. But thank you from the bottom of my heart and my wife's heart. It meant the world to us. My hope in telling my story and coming on here with you and what you're doing is continue with mental health for cops.
Yeah.
That's why I share my story, and I'll be happy to
You got
come
an
back
absolutely amazing
share some
story,
more.
and I think we're going to really enjoy hearing the rest of it as to what you're doing and where you're going.
Yes, sir.
Enlighten us a little bit on EMDR, some other things that other cops might find beneficial to help them. So if you're out there, you're not the only one. Shit happens to all of us. It's not your fault, and get yourself checked yearly. Blood work, the whole deal, especially if you're getting older and you got 20 plus years on the job. It's really, really important to get to the doctors, and I'm a really big advocate for that. Don't let your health slip just because you feel okay. We all feel okay. We push shit off. So with that said, thanks for being on the show. And this one hopefully will get out very quickly here, and we'll get to share it with some folks. But thanks, Kurt, and We'll see you at the coffee shop.
Roger that. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, dude. Peace.
All right.